Hello, hello, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the show. It is Friday. You guys are going to enjoy this. This is the podcast where we dive into real conversations, growth, mindset, and what it actually means to live a life of alignment and purpose and being driven through the personal journeys. I'm Crystal, life coach, speaker, author, and mentor. I support people all around the world to move through burnout, shift their mindset, and align with the life that they're truly meant to be living. Whether it's through coaching, treats, workshops, or even this podcast, I'm here to help you find clarity, confidence, and momentum. So if you're craving some inspiration, down to earth conversation, a fire to light your soul, you're in the right place. So let's get into it today. Today, I have my guest, Michael Poliziani, who is a financial advisor at Industrial Alliance, and he's also a sales manager. He has a background in customer service and restoration. He's a passionate leader, and Michael brings passion and purpose to every single thing that he does. After a life-changing return to his faith, he boldly credits his recent growth to success and to the grace of God. He is driven by a mission to inspire others through compassion, conviction, education, and a deep commitment to living his life with integrity. Thank you so much for being here. I am so looking forward to having this conversation with you, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and have this chat with you.
This is amazing. I'm really happy that you decided to join me. So to give you guys a little bit of a background, I'm going to call you Mike. Yes, it's Michael.
Yeah.
I've been going by Mike forever now. Mike and I met actually through my mama. My mother was doing some life insurance stuff for her grandbabies and making sure that they were covered and all that kind of stuff. And they were having a conversation and she started talking about the work that I do. And Mike was like, oh, that's interesting. We're looking for a speaker at Industrial Alliance at the Mercier branch in LaSalle. So we connected, and this was like a little over 2 years ago now. We're going into the third year.
Time flies. Yeah, it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we're going into the third year. I had the opportunity to do a keynote kickoff of the new year twice in a row now. And I'm actually going to be working with you guys starting next week, actually, for some workshops that I've put in place for the branch. So I'm really excited to do that. And that's how I met Mike. And Mike and I, we're passionate about a lot of things. I've had the opportunity to witness Mike's personal journey. We never worked together officially on a personal capacity, but your story has been very inspiring for me to watch. He also happens to be, I think you're cousins with Jenna, right?
Yeah.
So Jenna, one of my really amazing clients who's turned bestie, they happen to know each other, and who knew? Like, we didn't even know that this connection was there.
The Lord works in mysterious ways,
The
Crystal.
Lord works in mysterious ways. And so, speaking of that, I think it's really important. I'm going to preface this. I am faithful. I do believe in God. And when Mike and I were having the conversation, he was telling me that he really, really credits the work that he's done for himself to his connection to God and his return to his faith. And, it's not something that I talk about regularly. I do bring God into my practice. I do bring it into my conversations. But I think it's really important that, we have all kinds of different people's journeys, whether they use their own sense of spirituality or their connection to God. I thought it was important to have this conversation today. So Mike, I'd like you to tell me a little bit about, one, who you are, more than the incredible branch manager and leader of a team, of a sales team. Tell me a little bit more about your journey. Who is Mike?
It's a good question, because if you'd asked me this about 6 or 7 months ago, the answer would have probably been completely different. I don't think I knew who I was for a long time. I was maybe masquerading as someone who, everyone plays a role in a sense, unfortunately, where we can't truly be our full, unfiltered selves, right? So I was a party guy. I was a fun guy. I was a nice guy. I was always a compliment I got. What a nice guy. That guy's such a nice guy. But I was not a good man often, and
Interesting.
it's a interesting thought, because you could be a nice guy, but not necessarily a good man. So what is a good man versus a nice guy? A nice guy does nice for others. I was always there to lend a helping hand. I would help out. I always had that in me, that generosity and that kindness to help people. But I was not a good man because I wasn't good to myself. I guess number one is something that's important. And now that I understand that we're made in the image of a creator who loves us so much to give us these abilities and these God-given gifts, to throw that away and treat yourself harshly by whether it's
That's
drugs,
right.
cigarettes, alcohol, like everything. You're not going to the gym. You're eating what you want. You're living your best life and you're enjoying yourself. You're being disrespectful to someone who loves you so much to have given you the opportunity to do these things. And you're just completely disrespecting it, you know? But thankfully, this same creator that I'm talking about, our Lord, is also very patient. Thankfully, I tell my wife that thank God she's as patient as God is, or she would not have stuck around this long, you know. And I'm open enough to say it. And yeah, I did a lot of things that now I look back on that I regret, you know. But life is such that salvation allows us to move forward and not have to worry about these things.
Hmm.
So who I didn't answer your question, but basically that was just to preface saying how I wouldn't have had that answer before, but now I think it's your intro pretty much nailed it. Is I do find myself now to be a better leader than I ever was before. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. Period. I'm not going to be unashamed. You know, you have to work in a secular world where you got to kind of cater to different kinds of people. So I understand.
But I mean,
Thankful.
that's true for everybody, right? But I think it's important that we hold true to who we are. And I think
Mm,
that this is actually really important because whether it's your faith or it's your belief structures, we, like you said, we hide behind this mask of who we truly are. And that actually leads to the most inauthentic way of living, thus leading us to a path of unhappiness, destruction, the feeling of being judged, the feeling that you're not fitting in. All of those feelings that we have are literally built up of that inauthenticity. And so
right.
I think it's great that we're having this conversation about that level of authenticity. And so your come to Jesus moment,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Which is
it's not.
exactly what it is,
It
right?
really is. It really
Helped
is.
you to change your life. And do you think, can you tell me if there was a moment that this happened? Like what made you open your eyes?
It's a crazy story. I'm just to spare a bit of the details and for time purposes. I had a situation where I had decided to go to the planetarium with my wife and have a nice day with her. Sort of context briefly, 2 weeks prior, I'd done a confession at my church, and I told my priest, like, I need help. I don't need like kind words. Important to note, I considered myself to be atheist for many years, where it was more cultural for me. You're Italian, you get married in a church, and you do these things because you have to. And when you have a kid one day, if you have one, you could baptize him, and it's only, you know, you have to do this, not really understanding the true nature of what it meant. So, but for 2 weeks, like, it built up to a point where I was fed up of seeing the glass half empty. I wasn't really like counting my blessings as I should have been,
Mhm.
and I was possessed by demons, to be honest with you, and you could say vices or whatever, addictions that were out of control. I wasn't a daily alcohol user, but when it came time, and people that know me, I don't have to hide this. I could, whether it's work colleagues or friends and family, if I was at a party or a wedding or every weekend, if I go with my buddies, like, it was alcohol to the point that I have to be drunk to the point of like not violence and like losing my mind, but I would have to excessively drink. That was my alcoholism, you know.
Yeah.
I'd smoke cigarettes. I would occasionally dabble into recreational drugs as well while on these party binges. Lust was big. I was always someone who had, even in my long past before my wife,
Yeah.
lust was always something I battled with heavily. I always said that my charm was a gift and a curse from the Lord. And unfortunately, no matter how I looked physically, I was drawn to certain people and women, and I was able to do these things. And then that evolved to pornography. And I'll go as far as to say that as well, because I'm not ashamed. But when I fell into love with this woman, my outlet for this lust was not only my wife, but to turn to pornography, which is just as bad. And it was something that, and it's so common,
It is.
and for male and female, and I don't think we realize how spiritually draining it is to do that act. And I didn't know back then, but it was a serious addiction. So all of this building up, I go see my priest and I said, I need help. Like, I need like a 1-800 number. Like, this is rock bottom. I need to get out of these addictions. And he said to me, Michael, I've been telling you for a while, do you pray? Because I'd been going intermittently to church and
Yeah.
speaking to him, and he's a family friend. Um, and I said, like, I try and
Yeah.
pray. I start praying for those 2 weeks. Long story short, fast forward, we're at the planetarium. I go onto my phone, as we always do, to check our emails or
Yeah.
whatever. And I see it was on the lock screen, right? You have the time. And I unlock with the face unlock. And at the top time, it shows 8:11, but it's 2:02 on the lock screen. So in the afternoon. So I go, that's strange. I swipe up again to get to the lock screen. And So I swipe down to go to the lock screen and it says 202. I swipe up again and it says 811. I look at this full reception, weird, lock the phone, think nothing of it. About 20 minutes later, it was 2:24. We're standing outside the theater doors at the planetarium to go watch the show for the holograms of the stars and whatnot. And I look again at my phone because we're addicted to our phones.
Yeah.
And I pull up my phone. I see 2:24. I swipe up. I see 811. I swipe down 2:24. I swipe up 811. Now it's unlocked. And I see this 811. And I turn it to my wife and I say, and I do the exact movements. I go, it's so weird, babe. It shows 811, but when I swipe down, it shows 2:24. And she says, what are you talking about? So I turn it back. Obviously, it's 2:24 on the lock screen. I swipe it up, and the time is back to 24. In that split second, and I'm sober as a judge. There was no, and that, so in that split second that I turned the phone over to her, it reverted back to the time. So she knew I was on this journey of trying to figure out like what, spirituality, I guess. We thought nothing of it. Had a beautiful day. That night, she goes to work. I fall into a bit of that lust pattern on Reels and Instagram, TikTok, all the BS that we live. And I had enough. I said, this is it. The priest had given me a year prior. At Easter time, I'd gone to see him. He gave me a book called Rediscover Jesus by Matthew Kelly. I had 80 pages left because I'd read it during these 2 weeks. I finished the book, feel super motivated, and it hits me like a ton of bricks that 811 is a chapter and a verse of the Bible, obviously. Not obviously. I've never read the Bible. I'm not someone who's a theological major, and I don't know scripture. I Google what 811 means. And the Gospel of John 8:11 specifically is word for word, "No one, Lord," she said. And Jesus replied, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." And yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts, Crystal. It was
Holy crap.
it changed everything. And then from there, it was like you see on like videos or people like the demons. I was almost convulsing. I start crying and I get very emotional at that point. And I realized like this is real, man. This is not a joke. This is not a feel-good story they've been telling us since they were kids. This is absolutely real. And if it's real, it's all real. And now what? And that started my journey of just everything getting better. Blessings.
I talk a lot about rock bottoms, right? And, even though your rock bottom doesn't, it wasn't a burnout or it wasn't, like ending up in jail because you were drinking, it wasn't a rock bottom where it like literally took you out, but this is a version of your rock bottom, making those realizations. And, the crazy thing that I'm not crazy, but the thing that I'm hearing from you and I hear from a lot of people, and I've also felt it myself, is that journey to the rock bottom can be long, right? Because we don't see it. So for example, if you're in a burnout, you're running through the motions, you're doing all the things. I can realistically say that I was in a burnout about 2.5 years before my official burnout, right? So that lead up time to the official rock bottom can be very, very difficult to go through. But once you hit that, this is kind of where I see people start to transform. And it sounds to me that it was like, it clicked, reading those last 80 pages of the book and just making a decision, making a choice, having the scripture tell you that like, shit, sin no more. All right, I got to change my life. Yeah. And so what did it look like from there? What did, the next steps look like from there? Because I think that you'd been on a personal development, like you weren't unaware of personal development at all. No. Like I said, we met 3 years ago, and that was one of the reasons why you guys hired me at Industrial Alliance, was really to bring the personal development aspect into the professional development to help people level up as human beings, as opposed to just focusing on their career. So you weren't unaware of the personal development journeys. So like, how do you think that helped you, the fact that you started to be aware of those things?
I think they were just, for a long time, they were just words and concepts that were like unattainable almost by me because I was so corrupt in my way of thinking of how, like, my pessimistic outview on things. So it was like, it's like people that tattoo cool phrases on their bodies. Like, they're not just cool catchphrases. Fear no evil and like all this cool stuff. Like it's real. So even though I would listen, even yourself, you're a very captivating speaker. Everything you did was nice, but it was never more real than when the last one you did, because now I actually have the mind open to this and the heart for it. So before, and just touch back on the rock bottom. It's funny because I tell people, I'm scared to, like some of my buddies who I won't mention their names for confidentiality, but I tell them straight, I'm like, I'm scared to see what your rock bottom is, man. I'm absolutely terrified. And another thing about rock bottom, why a lot of people don't even realize they're in it, is it sneaks up on you.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's it's by increment. Like you said, it would have been almost too easy to have gotten a DUI and killed someone in my car drunk one night and then be like, oh my God, life has to change. It creeps up on you slowly and slowly, and everything you did, now you're like, weren't okay with that 6 months ago, but now you're okay with it because you allowed yourself to gradually grow into it. I'll drink a little more, I'll eat a little more, I'll be sleep in a little more, I'll consume some porn a little more, like whatever the case may be. It's gradual desensitization
Yeah.
of something that you know innately is wrong. You know
Yeah.
it's not good for you. You know it's self-destructive. You know deep down, but it's so comfortable. It's so fun to just do this every day, and then it just slowly, slowly
Because
gets
it
out of
becomes
hand.
a part of our routine. It becomes a part of our habits. And so, like,
Exactly.
we actually, as human beings, we do need routines in our lives. It
Hmm.
helps us to maintain that nervous system, right?
Hmm.
Because habits allow us to not have to think about the things that we actually have to do, which therefore leaves us room to be able to make decisions much quicker than having to have constant decisions being made all day
For
long.
sure.
And so we create these lives where there's
Hmm.
literally constant routine, whether it's good or bad.
Hmm.
Because you could be overeating as a part of your routine. You could be
Hmm.
snacking as a part of your routine. You could be drinking as a part of your routine. Like, right? You come home,
Oh yeah.
crack open a bottle and you have a beer.
Yeah.
Even if it's one beer, we're not
Yeah.
talking about overconsumption
Hmm.
here. We're talking
Hmm.
about building in habits into your life, right?
Hmm.
And so I want you to tell me a little bit about the level of vulnerability that you've had to have throughout this journey. Because, I've had a lot of conversations with my male and female clients, and we've had a lot of vulnerable conversations. But one of the things that I think people find hard is to actually talk about their specific journey, their specific vices. Nobody wants to admit they were addicted to pornography. Nobody wants to admit that they had a DUI. Nobody wants to admit the things that have actually sent us into those downward spirals. How has your vulnerability now shown up in your life, and how has it actually helped your relationships? Because that's a big thing, especially for men. The men that I work with often have a feeling of like, if they are vulnerable with the people that they love, then they are no longer going to be seen as strong.
Yeah. And that's an excellent question. And I have to say that by the grace of God, even before my awakening and all this, I never really gave a damn about the opinions of others. But truly, I didn't just say it. I
Yeah.
actually never really, like, my reputation and my name spoke for itself. I
Mhm.
was always a nice guy. I never did anybody wrong. I never cheated anyone. I never robbed from anybody. My own demons and my own aggressions were against myself and probably my wife at some point, or girlfriends I've had in the past, because I treated them a certain way that maybe was not acceptable. But I never gave. So to answer your question, the vulnerability has never been a difficulty for me. It's never been an obstacle because I'm an open book. Like, you want to talk to me about coke, you want to talk to me about drug dealing, about weapons, about gangsters, you could talk to me. I'm
About
an
all.
open book. Yeah, there's a line in the U2 song where he says, "There's nothing you could throw at me that I haven't already heard." And in my case, even lived. So, and I think that testimony is very powerful. I think that you can reach more people if you can relate to them. So when I walk into somewhere and I'm not wearing a Star Wars shirt anymore like I used to when I was smoking weed and hanging with my buddies, but if I walk somewhere in a suit and my haircut's a little better, like, I can still relate to the struggles of someone gambling on the machine at the bar and just drinking his afternoon away on a Tuesday. Like, I don't judge you. I don't. So it's like you need that. I find, unfortunately, the people that are most closed off about it or ashamed or scared are
Mhm.
also the most judgmental by the same token, because it's like they
Absolutely.
think their own standard has to be so elevated that they can't fail. But then if someone else does it, they talk bad about them. It's a whole
It's a
culture of
reflection of themselves.
exactly.
Judgment is often a reflection of ourselves. When we judge others, it's because we judge ourselves and because we are not good with where we are. Because in order to be good with where you are, you don't need to put somebody else down to bring
Exactly.
yourself up. Again, this is the corporate crystal, right? So I
Yeah.
spent years in the banking industry, and I was one of those people that hid who I was. And, I didn't have the same vices, but it's like, my passion for personal development, for inspiring people, and for like literally the emotional aspect of leadership was something that was frowned upon. Right. And so I spent many years hiding that side of myself. And it's kind of like not being able to expose your vulnerability to people, because I was constantly told that my vulnerability was a failure, right? That part of me could not succeed in my business, right? And so, I mean, you're in a financial industry, right? You talk about this. You're very willing to come on this podcast, which I'm sure you're going to be sharing with the people that you.
Yeah, and
And I think this is powerful, right? So how have you been able to incorporate that into your business? I mean, you said that, you're capable of relating to people, but, how does that work for you in an industry that typically,
yeah.
puts us in a box?
It's very unorthodox, my way of leading my team, even like, and I have people of diverse faith. I have an atheist on the team, I have a Muslim, I have a Jewish guy, like, but they all get the same smoke from me, like Christ is king, and we laugh, and then they laugh at me because they just think I'm nuts. And like, but how do I navigate? Yeah, also I work in an industry, thankfully, that is it's commission based 100%, right? We're self-employed under the banner of the financial group, but that leaves us a little bit of wiggle room in terms of like, I'm not salaried, so I don't mind if I maybe turn, like if I do this podcast and I share it and people are turned off by the fact that I'm a man of the Lord, I didn't want to probably do business with them anyway. It's a natural filter that I'm putting up. However, I have to be conscious of the fact also that by posting and sharing this, if corporate sees this, there's going to be people that see this. Are they all going to be thrilled that I have an elephant behind me and I'm talking about Jesus and God, and I don't care? And however, the power that he also grants me is I don't care. And I don't care because I have no right to ever, 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 ever undermine his role in my life. And if it needs, like, this is extreme, and I'm going to go, I don't want people to think that I'm like an extremist in my views. I am, but not to the point of like violence. But the worst they can do is take my life. You understand? This is something that Christians, since the dawn of our faith, okay, for 2,000 years over now, have been martyred for and killed for and tortured for and imprisoned for. So it's still happening today in Syria and overseas. They're in the Congo. So I'm a North American, Canadian, fat guy who lived off the land, a weak Christian my whole life. So now that I have a platform that I could stand up and announce my faith to people and maybe help people through it, I can't fear a repercussion. So if the worst they can do is harm me physically, which perfect, you sent me one way straight up to where I got to be. Let's do it. Like I'll lose my job, or I'll get a warning, or like, and then maybe I won't do it again, or maybe I will. And like, he'll provide whatever I need. So that's the beauty of leaving it up to him 100%. So I know I'm rambling a bit, but to answer the question of how do I navigate in a financial world, this newfound belief, I'd say now what I'm doing is as difficult as what you were trying to do for personal growth, but mine is a spiritual religious growth. And it's probably even more taboo to do what I'm doing and say it. And so far, so good, because I'm under the radar a bit, but I'm going to be doing more of this stuff and talking and putting reels out and doing things. And, if I've also been able to cast out a lot of negative things, a lot of negative interference. So I don't want to come off as like arrogant or cocky, but oftentimes decisions I make now are fruitful ones, and because they're anointed and blessed by the Lord. And it's like, how can you say that? I can say that because I've eliminated all the vice from my life and
Because you're
everything.
following a passion, a purpose, a
Mhm,
conviction. You're following your authenticity. And that's,
mhm.
I think, what God wants from us. He
For
wants us
sure.
to be authentic humans. He wants us to be good men,
Hmm.
good men, good
Hmm.
women, to
Totally,
go
of
out
course.
there and to be genuinely a good human being. You said a little earlier, you were talking about your belief structure. Can you mentioned that you were kind of atheist for a really long time. Was it just atheism, or it was just like I've done the whole Catholic thing because I grew up that way, and just it doesn't hold a place? Because I could tell you my own personal story. I
Mm,
had, a good, I don't know, since the time I was about 15 or 16 years old, that I lost my connection to God,
mm,
because I lost my connection to the church. And so
mm,
for me, my biggest thing that's happened in the last 5 to 7 years was my return to faith. I haven't been able to go back into church because, some people know
mhm,
my story, some people don't know my story. I'm not going to go bring that up on this podcast today. Maybe it'll be for another day because I do have to talk with people in my life. But I lost it for many, many years. I lost all of that connection. And I haven't put together the losing myself to losing my faith. And
Huge.
so it sounds to me that there's a huge connection between losing
Yes.
yourself and losing your faith.
100%. And it's, I've been saying this to people, and it's very important that people understand that, you got to be careful how you deliver this message, because it's not that, oh, it's a free for all. What I mean though is that church, okay, the reason why I identify as a Catholic in the Catholicism aspect of it is because I found a church and a priest that I love, who's been in my family for generations now. My grandmother used to go to, he was he's a family friend's uncle. Like it's so that's why it works for me now, thank God. Okay. But I'm
Yeah.
also very aware that corruption and spiritual warfare is real. So there's been corruptions at all levels of the organization of the church and the institution. And we're no better. And this is something that maybe I'll get flack on as well. We're no better than the Jewish faith was 2025 years ago, or 2000, when Jesus himself came down and was calling out the Pharisees and whoever was causing that sort of structure back then. So religion killed Jesus. And I always tell people, because people do evil in the name of him does not make him evil. This is something that I had to grasp as well. Thankfully, nothing happened to me as a child, but I was at a church when I was a kid where the priest is in jail now. Okay, at the same time that I was a kid there. And that's nuts. It's unacceptable. But judgment is not for us. That he'll be handled accordingly. You know, when the time comes, if he doesn't make his peace. But I think to answer the question, sorry, I'm going off on tangents here, but
I love the tangents.
yeah,
I
it's nuts.
the whole point.
But it's faith in itself. Yeah, losing yourself and losing your faith. It's everything, and the enemy will use every single tactic possible to get you away from your faith in Jesus Christ. All of them. He will use bad church, bad priests. And like I was saying, there's bad financial advisors, or bad priests, or bad doctors. There's bad everything. So there's bad guys that do their job because they're guys at the end of the day. They are
Yeah.
anointed for a calling, but if they're not doing it properly, they're just as bad as anyone else, as you and I, right? As sinners.
Yeah.
So the enemy will use every tactic in his power, whether it's frustration, addiction, temptation, it'll be a bad experience in a church, anything. The ultimate, I saw a funny reel, the ultimate conspiracy theory, because people talk about 9/11 and all, every conspiracy, Illuminati and the
Mhm.
shadow government. It's kind of all real, but I think the ultimate one, if you look down, period, is to spiritually disconnect us from God, to send us to hell. Period. If you ask why enough times, at every single conspiracy you ever thought, it's going to be corruption and greed and evil and the sacrifice. They're doing all that stuff. All the occult stuff is real. So, like,
Yeah.
why are they doing that?
And
Why are
it's
there
gonna
these pedophile
be
rings and all these things going on? It's because it's real. They are praising to a force other than God, and they're tapping into something spiritual and negative, and it's working for them here on this fallen world. But after that, they'll answer to like everyone else. Yeah, the ultimate thing is we lose ourselves because we lose our faith.
our
And
faith.
let's take one step further and put myself out there even more. I had talked to a guy yesterday after the gym, and he said something along the lines of the universe. And then this is why people will always struggle, because unfortunately, and I know why, it's because the good to follow Christ in this world, people will call it anything: karma, energies, the universe, the powers that be, and like the it's God, man. Like, you guys, I need people like to really, really understand it is, yeah. Is he a man with a beard? Like, we're made in his image, so I'm imagining he looks something like us. I don't know, but it's God. And the more people will try to find other versions of him to just avoid the because church was bad, when yeah, it was, and it's gonna be, but the more we try to find a replacement for what he actually is, and the more we try to fill that void in our heart with other things,
Mhm.
buying stuff and just owning cool things and like all the material of the world, the fleshly desires, you will always struggle forever. I don't care how disciplined you are. I don't care if you have the best coach in the world trying to back you. It'll work for a certain degree, but once crystal goes away, you will inevitably fail again because you don't have the cross to hold on to.
That was very boom. Like that's gonna be a
Yeah.
great reel.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great reel for sure. And I'll take it. It is what it is. We're putting ourselves out there today.
We
Amen.
definitely are putting ourselves out there today. You said something again earlier about the difference between hearing things when it came to personal development and hearing things, like when before your awakening and after your awakening. How has that felt for you? Because I know for me, I've read books in the past that just went in one ear, went right out the next, or the message just was not clear, or it wasn't meant for me at the time because there was something missing. Does it feel like that for you? Like where you can go back and read the same things or see the same quote and totally look at it completely different?
Everything has changed. Like everything is better, like by a infinite amount, percentage, whatever you want to call it. It is, everything is now that I understand the orchestration and the symphony of what God is doing for everybody, okay? Whether good or bad, because he's going to allow things to happen to test you and fortify you for your blessings that are to come. If you don't get it, you'll just, it's not because he's cruel. It's free will. He can't force us to love him. Then it's not love. You understand? So this is why we have to find it. But everything now since then has changed. I see everything in a different light. I can go back and yeah, I've watched like movies recently where I'm like, oh my God, that's nuts. This is completely different music. I'll listen to songs I listened to before, a lot of which I don't listen to anymore because a lot of it was all poison. It's everything is different, every single thing, because I know that it's designed to arrive when it has to arrive. This conversation was predestined to happen. The next thing I'll do today, everything is
Everything
it's
is meant
beautiful.
to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everything is meant to be. I truly believe in that. I think
Like
that
even that phrase, like before, it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It was just empty. It would just ring empty in my ears. Yeah, I guess so. That sucks. But it's true. This is nuts. It actually
I
is.
say this to people all the time because we have so many levels of trauma, so many levels of experience, and from what you're telling me, you have a hell of an experience. I have a hell of an experience. My trauma is no greater than your trauma. Yours is no greater than mine. Doesn't matter what scale it is because we are the human being that's experiencing the trauma. And, those experiences oftentimes have the ability to cripple us and to put us in the tailspin of why me? Why is this happening to me? When I started to look at why is this happening for me, right?
Big.
It's a change of one word. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And when you're in it, you have a very difficult time seeing it. But if you look at, I'm pretty sure you can look at all of your past experiences, good, bad, everything in between. You can actually look back and say, okay, how did this work for me? What did this bring me? Right? It's experience, it's worldly knowledge, it's, the ability to help change other people's worlds. Like had I not gone through the experiences or you not gone through the experiences, you would not be able to lead yourself and others in the direction that they deserve to go in.
It's intel. It's intelligence on the enemy camp. That's what I have. That's what I'm equipped with. When I walk in the room, I know what that guy's suffering, and I know why. Also, not only do I not judge people now, I rarely did before. Anyways, like the odd time you see someone do something stupid, like, oh, what an idiot! Like cut you off in traffic. Like, okay, that's over now too. It's all dead in my soul. But like, I don't judge people for their behaviors, because not only because I was there before, but because I understand why. I
Yeah.
understand what is leading you to hide away at the bar and stay away from your family, and why your wife is doing this and your kids are acting the way they're acting. I know it all. And again, and it keeps coming back. It is because you are not anchored in the cross. This is why. Because if you have that foundation, whether good to appreciate, bad to understand, it's either a lesson or a blessing. If you have that always,
Yeah.
then you will never, ever, ever feel lost or alone or needing to do bad things ever.
Yeah.
But it's hard to reprogram the software in our brain. It's hard to do that because, first of all, we don't even think that it's real. The help is available, and
Well, we're
help
not
is,
we're not trained that way, right? We're trained
yeah.
to go into the box, the
Good
matrix,
point.
you know,
Exactly. Good point. This is what it, from inception, from birth, we are raised in a whole, nothing is as it seems. Like
no. Our
I real
belief structures are all created even genetically. Like we've talked about. You're just like throw the
It's
pen down.
nuts. Yeah,
Mic
it's
drop.
nuts. It's nuts.
But it's true. It's like we're not taught these things. And this is why, for me, the whole experience, and I wanted to have this conversation with you specifically about your connection to God, because it does tie in with personal development. It really, truly does. It might not for everybody, and that's fine. There are going to be people that are going to love this podcast. There are people that are going to
Mhm.
not love this podcast, and that's totally fine. But the message remains the same, is that
Mhm.
we are not taught how to interact in a way that is going to develop us personally, strengthen us from within, create a resilience, create the determination. Like I posted this morning, it wasn't motivation that got me to the gym, it was my determination.
Determination.
Very big difference. I'm not motivated every day to go to the gym, but we're not taught this. We're taught that, like, oh, you just got to be motivated. Well, no, it's not. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about going there. It's not fun. I don't
It's
enjoy
not
it.
fun. You know,
I do it
there's
every
some
morning.
things
I don't.
you got to do in your life that are not fun,
Mhm.
but they are for the greater good. And that
Exactly.
includes the development of oneself, from their spiritual path, from their connection to God, to their connection to themselves, right? Because we lose a connection to ourselves, which ultimately is what leads
We
us
are.
down.
Yes, and we have a divine nature to us, obviously. When Jesus says we're his brother and he's the son of God, we are sons and daughters of the Lord. So we do have a divine, the Holy Spirit, when they say it's in us, okay? We are part divine ourselves. We're not just human beings that came here by accident and we walk around and we work all day and we swear all day and we're just hating everything. Like, we have a divine connection. And I don't know, I try not to be too like foreboding about things, but like, listen, inevitably one day, okay, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess, okay? And unfortunately, you got to make sure that your soul is right and that you're walking in a state of grace, because if you're not, you've been warned for so long, and eventually, man, I don't know how else to say it. If it's not the crazy guy in LaSalle that used to hang at the bar all the time telling you turn financial advisor, like, I don't know, man, maybe it's something else. There's countless, and people, the ones that really kill me are, well, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Look in history, okay?
Mm.
When the church, the one of the really valuable things I find about the church, the Catholic Church or Orthodox Church, I like a lot, is that they elect saints, okay? And
Okay.
saints are people that are human beings who've performed documented miracles. There are miracles that scientists and doctors have not figured out how that was possible other than being a miracle, which is divine. And this is your proof. If you look, God has to give us enough to, like, hey, if you take a look, you'll find it. But if you don't complain that it's not there. It's all there. This is
I
here.
say
It's
this all the time in another context, but if you can't find the proof that it is possible, become the proof. Or if you can't
mm,
find the proof that it's possible, look for it,
yeah.
because you will always find it.
Ask and you shall receive.
Exactly.
If you knock, you'll be allowed to enter, man. It's But again, it's not something that people like to have a conversation about. It makes people uncomfortable, and I get it, and I don't care. I don't care.
I love the attitude, and I appreciate that attitude, because I think it's important that we, I tell this to my clients all the time. You have to be good within yourself. You have to
Mhm,
be good with what it is that your convictions are and
mhm,
how it makes you live the most authentic part of yourself. Because
mhm,
when you're not authentic, you are not living. You are done
mhm.
a little bit every
100%.
single day. And so you have demonstrated that with your faith today, and again, it's not for everybody. They might not
Mhm,
connect with it today. They might never connect with it to that level of, your connection to
mhm,
faith. But if you can connect to yourself in that way and live the most authentically, your life will change. You will
mhm.
find the proof that is necessary to be able to
Exactly.
continue to take the steps forward.
100%. And that's a beautiful way to put it, because I had to, like, I started I synthesized the story and sort of got to the point, but like before that I started a gratitude journal. I had a guy at work tell me, well, Alex and Steph there
Yeah.
at our office, they're very successful advisors in this career, and they're doing very well. And they challenged me to do 60 seconds of self-love every day in the mirror. And like, this is before, like, there was no God talking at this point. So is it a coincidence that by being grateful and loving myself, it led me right to the foot of the cross and to God?
It is
Not
not.
a coincidence.
It's
Not a
not a
coincidence.
coincidence.
This is life. This is what it is. It led me straight to the answer and what I needed to move forward in my life. So it's all tied in together. To be authentic is to be yourself, and to be yourself is to be a child of the Lord. Live to your full capacity, man.
Your full capacity. Mike, this was a phenomenal conversation. I
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate your authenticity, your openness, your vulnerability, your ability. One, you're a great speaker. So I really enjoyed
Thank you.
having this conversation. You're extremely passionate. I've enjoyed getting to know you over the last 3 years. I think we have a lot more conversations to have happen moving forward. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
well,
Um,
hopefully I still have a job next week, and
yes, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
God willing.
My friends, this was great. I truly appreciate you. Where can we find you? So obviously we can find you. Can we find you on Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, yeah. I guess Instagram Mike Poli, Mikepoli, and my Instagram is there. It's open, and you guys could send me messages. I also do financial services, so if people need life insurance, disability, illness, anything to do with investments, TFSAs, RRSPs, RESPs for kids, I encourage you all to check me out as well. I have a good team, motivated, passionate advisors that are walking a path of integrity and education. That's something we didn't really touch on the work stuff, but we're not just out there selling contracts. We're doing conferences in women's shelters, libraries, new arrival centers, just free conferences to educate on financial literacy and the importance of securing yourself financially. And my tagline on Instagram is securing souls and finances. So that's what I do. I'm a spiritual director and a sales manager as well. So thank you.
I absolutely love that, Mike. Thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you.
can attest to the team that you have and the way that you lead them, not just your team, but the overall group at the LaSalle branch over here. I've had such a pleasure working with each and every one of you. It's been my honor to be part of that team.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. You're coming in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Next Tuesday
Next
I'll
week.
be
Yeah,
there.
next Tuesday.
Next
Yes.
week, the
Good.
5th. Yeah, I know. I have some
Yeah.
work to do.
Good. Yes, you do. Thank you,
Anyway, Mike,
Crystal.
thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you to all my listeners for listening. Please drop some comments on the YouTube channel or wherever you're finding this podcast. If you have any questions, drop them there. I'll make sure that Mike answers them or I answer them, depending on who it's geared towards. Thank you again for coming to my podcast. Have an amazing day.